Meet the Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because those Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. In Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Head for the
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and we're back live in New York City. And we're back live, back to you, live and in color. Ugh. And hello, Kevin Reardon. So we're going to get into the Mets in a bit. Actually, more than a bit. This is about what the show's about. Doing a lot of different things on the channel. I'll get to that in a little bit. It's not going to be a very long live stream. It's very quiet right now, as you know. But let's get into it. So we are now 5 days away from pitchers and catchers. And I've been posting all kinds of shorts. You can check the shorts out. That'll count down till the last day. And then we will do days until opening day. So hopefully if you like that, you can check those out. So apparently it's going to be 15 Mets are going to be going to the WBC, the World Baseball Classic. That's a lot of players. Mets' entire infield is going to the World Baseball Classic. I don't know. I know they do this every few years, but I really don't know if it's worth it. The players of note that are going, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil, Eduardo Escobar, Edwin Diaz. Now, the one player that isn't going is Starling Marte. We'll see what his status is because it seems like he might be injured. So far, he's ready to go. He's on time for spring training. Now, I would point out when pitchers and catchers start, that's not the same day as position players. Because the position players are about a day later or 2 days later. And, of course, the first game will be February 25th. I don't know if I'll be doing content on the WBC. We'll see. I did a video on it. You know, things have been very strange in this channel. All the views are down. The views are down, but my sub count is going up. I can't quite put a handle on it and figure it out, but you're here watching this live stream either on replay or live watching me now. So I guess the WBC starts from March 8th and they go until the 21st. First day and the opening day for the Mets is March 30th. So hopefully some of these players will be, you know, these teams are going to be stacked. I mean, Team USA is going to be stacked. The team Dominican Republic is going to be huge. So we have a whole bunch of teams that are going to be very difficult to beat. And there'll be some players that of interest for us and myself. And I'll do a video on these players, a Japanese player and a player from Korea that seem like they're going to be going into the major leagues next year. And I'll get into that in the next day or two. Obviously, Sunday is the Super Bowl. And there'll be no videos on Sunday, no like regular videos, you know, just a lot of shorts. And they'll be posted sporadically during the day. I know people have enjoyed them. So Senga came to camp the other day, Port St. Lucie. He's not pitching for Japan. He is now down in Port St. Lucie. You know, very excited to see him pitch. Very excited to get a chance to watch him and learn about this ghost forkball that he throws. So that'll be exciting to see. All the big Met prospects are down in Port St. Lucie, but Baty's down there. Mark Vientos is down there. Francisco Alvarez, and of course, we're going to see how they perform. They're going to get a lot of time to play because I don't think any of them are going to the WBC. Max Scherzer, and Verlander are not going to the WBC. They will be pitching for the Mets, so they'll get a full spring training. So that is going to be great to see. I can't wait to watch Verlander on a regular basis now. Obviously, with him being in the American League all those years, we haven't had a chance to see him. I'll get a chance to see him. Hopefully, he'll stay on the field. He won't have any injuries. Hopefully, Scherzer will have a full season, although he's probably going to miss some starts. I expect that. Hopefully, not have to deal with the kind of serious injuries that he had last year to his side. That's a tough injury to deal with. But that'll be something we'll watch. There aren't really a lot of sort of on-field battles for the 25th and 26th man on this team. The roster's pretty much set with the Mets. I don't get too worked up about the 25th and 26th man. We'll do videos on it if you want. But that is not sort of one of these things that is a long-term kind of situation. It's not a situation where guys will come and go. I mean, the last guy in the bullpen will come and go. The last guy on the bench will come and go. I would mention Khalil Lee. They designated him for assignment. I guess he got into some trouble up in Buffalo. Not Buffalo, Syracuse. And he's basically, I don't expect him to be back with the New York Mets and the organization. They'll DFA him and maybe they'll send him back down, or maybe they'll move him or release him. But I don't think they're going to want that headache now. Obviously, he's a toxic guy. Toxic situation. The Mets having a good situation. The Mets are going to have like a commercial, during the Super Bowl. They kind of put out the commercial yesterday. It's cute, The funny part was Nimmo running around that office to answer the phone. That was the funniest thing about that commercial. The rest of it's okay. I know a lot of the people at the store, immediately they'll fall themselves, those scrape, But that was the funny part, was Nimmo running around that office answering the phone. But and it was interesting to see these guys answering the phone, taking ticket sales. I thought it'd be more interesting if they were on the field, but I guess with the Mets digging up the outfield and putting that humongous scoreboard in center field, I guess they can't really do it. Probably wouldn't be safe for the players. They have to wear. They should have them out there, talking about him wearing hard hats on. But that was a cute little commercial, and it'll be interesting to see the kind of effect that will have in terms of ticket sales to the Mets and how because the Mets are trying to build themselves into like a worldwide brand. They don't want to just be like a nice little baseball team here in New York. They want to be a worldwide brand, like the Yankees and the Cowboys, and I guess the Patriots when they used to be the Patriots. They're not the Patriots anymore since Tom Brady left. But stuff like that, I think they want to do. But I can't remember last time a baseball team, an MLB team, actually spent money to put an ad on the Super Bowl. If you're in the chat, let me know if you remember any other team. I don't remember any team. Maybe players have, but I've never seen an actual whole team do it. We know that the Wilpons wouldn't do that. We'll get into the Wilpons in a little bit. So, but yeah. So the first game will be, I guess, on February 25th. I don't know what the first televised game is. We'll get into that momentarily. But the big battle, I guess, in camp will be, where do these young guys go? Where would these young guys go? Will they be in AAA with the Met, in Syracuse? Will they be with the Mets this year? When will they be here? Hello, Lendog72. We will get into that. I'm going to get into it, as you saw the thumbnail with Keith. So, again, please like this video. If you come to it for the first time, subscribe, and you'll be able to talk to me. And if you're watching a replay, just leave comments in the comment section. But the thing is that you have these guys. You got these three players. Alvarez, who we know is not going to be the DH on this team. The Mets have kind of said it. They want him to catch. They want him to have the ability to learn how to call a game better, how to catch the game better, how to interact with the pitchers better. That's the one good thing about the WBC is that he will be able to do that. I believe Narvaez is going to the WBC. So Alvarez is going to get a lot of time behind the plate. I don't expect him to make the team. If he does, because of an injury. If there's an injury to Nito or to Narvaez, he will be here. But obviously, I don't think he's going to be here. The Mets have kind of said that they want him to catch every day, and it will be either with the Mets or with the Syracuse team. But that will not. I don't know what his chances are. He thinks he's going to be here, but who knows? He's very confident. Now, Brett Baty, it's a different story. Baty has a very good chance of making this team. He can make this team by playing really well, playing good defense and hitting, and making this team as a third baseman or as a left fielder. He might be the everyday player on this team. He of the three guys the Mets have that are on the bubble between AAA and the majors. He might be the guy that has the best chance to make this team. He's the most athletic of the three of them. He can play the outfield. He's proven that he can play the outfield in the minor leagues. He needs to prove better that he's a better third baseman. From what I saw, he needs some work there. I think that he's going to hit. From what I saw, I need to see more. He's very good at taking counts. He's very good at working the pitcher. From what we saw over those 11 games, I need to see more of him. We're going to get a chance to really see him a lot in spring training. He's going to get a lot of at bats with all these guys going to the World Baseball Classic. He's going to get a very good chance to make this team. The third guy on this list is Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos is limited because he's not really an outfielder. We did not see much of him at third base last year. I don't think he played third. He's probably a DH, which is not a great position if you're a young player to be a DH. However, he is considered a guy that has big power. If you saw this post by the former general manager of the Mets, Brodie Van Wagenen, he posted statistics, and they were very similar to Pete Alonso. So he has a chance, I think, and that's been the scouting report on Vientos, that he has big power, that he has power that rivals Pete Alonso. Now, he has a lot to prove. He's not as good of a prospect as some of these other guys are. He's not as big of a prospect as Alvarez. He's not as big of a prospect as Baty. He doesn't run well. He might not be a great third baseman. He might not be a great outfielder, but he has a lot of power. So that is something obviously the Mets need. These three guys in particular, they all have something the Mets need a lot of. And that is power. This team needs power, and a lot of it. They have two power hitters in this lineup. They need one more big power hitter. And that is going to be a thing that we're going to be talking a lot about this season. Where are they going to find this pop? Where are they going to find this power? And there will be names out there that are going to be available. Jorge Soler, Javi Baez, and a whole bunch of others. But I have. Wait a minute. Let me find my list, because I always write this stuff down. Believe it or not. If you don't write it down, you're not going to remember. Now, before we get into that, please like this video and, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut. You're coming through. What's up, John Delarose? What's up? You haven't been here in a long time watching this channel. What's going on? I've been watching. I'm not coming back, just so you know. I am not the Hut promises. I have no interest in coming back. All right. How's it going, John? All right, a couple names to keep an eye on with the Mets and really any team. Willie Adames of the Brewers. Javi Baez. Oh, kind of crossed his name. Andrew McCutcheon. I didn't. This was an old list, but Adamas is someone to keep an eye on, and so is Javi Baez. At least with the Mets and really any team, it's going to be very odd kind of trading deadline because everyone's going to be talking about Shohei Ohtani when we get to the trading deadline. I don't expect him to get moved. And Artie Moreno is basically like in denial. He's completely, totally in denial that he's going to sign Ohtani. The guy is about as incompetent a owner as you could possibly get. The guy had a world championship team, and they have not done squat in 20 years since he's owned the team. Then he says, "Well, you know what? I'm going to sell the team, and that's it." Then he's like, "Well, I don't want to sell the team." Well, why? We're going to win. You're going to win. You haven't won in 20 years. You could have hired Buck Showalter to be the manager, and you hired Joe Madden, one of the biggest. This guy, if the Cubs had lost the World Series in 2016, they would have strung that guy up by his feet. Because if it wasn't for the rain delay, the Cubs were going to lose. So why would you want to hire Joe Madden, one of the worst and most overrated managers of the last 20 years? Where the media goes, "Oh, he's so great. He's terrible." The guy can manage himself in and out of a paper, in a paper bag, and never get himself out of it. By the way, but the hell was I talking about? Oh, power. Mets need a lot of power. So there will be some guys. I don't know to what extent we're talking about. It's just one of those things that I don't. It's going to be hard to see where they get a bat. Now, Javi Baez is a guy to keep an eye on. I am not the biggest fan of his, but the guy does have power. He's played in big games. But when he got here, everything sort of went down the drain. However, Mets have a big manager. He's not going to let that happen. But we'll see. But let's get the season started. Let's get spring training started. And we get spring training started. That would be nice. I'm talking about the trading deadline already. But let's get the season started. There's a lot to talk about. I would expect that line to be basically constructed the same way as it was last year. Hopefully Marte, you got to be able to manage Marte a little bit better so he doesn't run himself into the ground. Now he had that finger issue. We got hit by a pitch with his finger, but more importantly, this thing with his core muscle, that's something to keep an eye on even now. The Mets are going to have to manage that injury over the course of the season, and we'll see how that comes along. I don't know. That was a bit of a surprise when we heard in November he had surgery, and that's considered a very serious injury. But we'll see. The Mets got to manage him a little bit better, not play him day games after night games. He's 35 years old. So Buck has got to find a way to sort of manage his time, Now Tommy Pham, I haven't mentioned him. They signed him to a 1-year deal. The thing that's interesting about him is that he hits really well in postseason. So where he fits in with this team might be one of these moves that might work later on. And obviously we have Darren Ruff, and Darren Ruff is a disaster. He was a disaster hit last year, hit 148 in the 2 months he was here, and did not hit any pitching, let alone left-handed pitching. Did nothing. I don't know. The problem is that he can't handle it in New York. Some players just can't handle it here. Chris Bassett, who pitched really well here, complained about how tough it is here. We're very demanding here about the Mets and the Yankees, and we want the team to win. But the media makes it much worse here. But he's not here. He's with the. I kept saying that he's with the Twins. I said that a couple of times. People had to. I had to get corrected. And he was signed with the Blue Jays. He didn't sign with the Twins. He signed with the Blue Jays. Interesting to see where the Blue Jays go as a team. They got some issues there. Mick Framos, Mr. Let's see, Mr. Famos. How would you set up the lineup this year? I think it was basically the same as last year. I think, Mister um, Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso. Um, that's the problem. The Mets don't really have a 5 hitter. I think. I think just based off of how things went in September, I think you could bat Escobar fifth. McNeil, you could bat him anywhere. McNeil, you could bat him from top to bottom. You bat him fifth, you bat him sixth. I think for this lineup, I'll bat Escobar fifth, McNeil, Canna, Canna, Vogelback / the other DH, either be Ruff or Pham, and the catcher, either be Nito or Narvaez. I am cool with this lineup, how it's constructed. However, they still need a better 5 hitter. It's a pretty good lineup. I mean, they scored a lot of runs. They scored the 5th most runs last year and had one of the higher batting averages of the teams. So this is not a team that they were the last few years where they weren't hitting. And they hit well with men on base. Like I said, they need a bat that's going to hit really good pitching. So that's why you keep an eye on. That's why I guess they signed Tommy Pham. He hits really good pitching in big spots. So you got to, that's the kind of player the Mets need to find. That's what was interesting. I think that was interesting why they wanted to sign Carlos Correa. Correa was a guy that hit really good pitching, but he just wasn't a good fit in my view. He was not the best fit for this team because it seems to me there were too many issues with this injury to his leg. Because of the leg and because of the fact that he's never played third base. He's never played third base in the major leagues. He's never played third base in the minor leagues. So he's going to have to learn third. And if he was here, would he be with the Mets right now? No, he'd be in the World Baseball Classic. He wouldn't spend the whole time here with the Mets. He'd be getting ready for the World Baseball Classic. So that's the problem with having this guy here. And he's not a 5 hitter. His production was very similar to that of Eduardo Escobar. Same production. So it's like, it's like it's like a big waste of time. Mr. Famos, I think Marte should lead off. I think it was fine what they had. Here's the thing about Marte. Marte only played 120 games. I think Nimmo batting leadoff is fine. Nimmo's a good leadoff hitter. Guy scored 100 runs. That's what you want out of your leadoff hitter. That's fine. I think that's fine. And he'll bat him second. The top of this lineup is perfect. The bat as perfect as you can get. This is the bat as perfect the top of the lineup we've seen in these parts since the 99 Mets. Because the 99 Mets had a perfect 1 through 5. The Mets don't have 5 here to go with that. They don't have a Robin Ventura, the bat 5th in this lineup. If the Mets will have a number 5 hitter like him, that would make a big difference. That's really the kind of guy I'm looking at. Some guy that's gonna, just absolutely wreck a game late in a game, or somebody. I posted something on the Baseball Hut too. Of this at bat from 1988. I remember it, listening to it on the radio. The Mets were going up against the Pirates, and Jim Leland walked Darryl Strawberry to face Kevin McReynolds. Now, Kevin McReynolds was about as bad. You talk about a player that didn't care about baseball. That's a guy that didn't care about his sport. He didn't care about it. Wasn't the guy that took it home with him. But sometimes you wondered, if he got mad if they walked, Strawberry in front of him. Because every time that they, anybody walked Strawberry in front of McReynolds would make him pay. And this was like the classic example of McReynolds absolutely wrecking a game in the middle of a game. He hit grand slam against Doug Drabeck, who won the 90 Cy Young Awards. This was against a really good pitcher. He just completely wrecked the game. That's the kind of bat that I would like to see the Mets have. Somebody that will make a team pay if they walk Pete. That's the issue with what the Mets have in terms of the middle of the lineup, the very middle of that lineup. Now we have Marte. If the Mets didn't have Marte, my attitude would be, well, let's bat Jeff McNeil second. Because he kind of has a different kind of way about him as an offensive player. He's very aggressive. And he hits any pitching. He had a good postseason. He was pretty solid in September, was pretty good in against the Braves. But that's the kind of thing I'm looking at. The kind of number 5 hitter I'm looking at with the Mets. It's a guy that's going to really just come in and wreck a game. We saw that with Ventura, how aggressive he was and how he just completely wrecked the game. The 2006 Mets, 2007 Mets, they had a lineup of Reyes, LaDuca, Carlos Beltran, Delgado, and David Wright. David Wright was a game wrecker because a lot of times they would pitch around Delgado and they would pitch to David, and David would make him pay. So that is kind of the bat that I'm looking at. See, David, back in the day, David was a great 5 hitter. I don't know if he was really a 3 hitter or a cleanup hitter, but his perfect spot in the Met lineup was always number 5. Because that guy is like important. That's like the middle of the lineup. He's a game wrecker. You want that guy to be a game wrecker. 86 team had that too. They had Darryl Strawberry batting 5th. When you have Darryl Strawberry batting 5th, that guy he's gonna kill you. He's gonna kill you in the middle of the game. He really is. That's a guy you got to fear late in the game or the middle of the game, because that's a guy that can put the game away just one big swing. And that's kind of the guy I'm looking at for the Mets. But they've not developed that yet. Alvarez isn't ready. Baty isn't ready. Vientos isn't ready. And beyond those 3, they really don't have anybody in the farm system. So that's why they've been sort of, bringing in all these veteran players to sort of hold the line along the way. But all right, let's get into this thing about Keith Hernandez. I've been doing videos, shorts on this channel, complaining about the fact that the Mets not the Mets, but SNY has not signed him to a long-term deal and a contract to broadcast games with Gary Cohen and Ron Darling. Keith should get whatever he wants. Obviously, because of the past, he has earned the right to stay here. He's earned the right to be here. This is not a situation where he doesn't have roots as a Mets announcer. It's not like a Tim McCarver deal. This is a guy that is a great Met. This guy's on the Mount Rushmore of Mets. The Mount Rushmore of Mets is, but the 4th guy can be questionable. But if there was 3 guys, it's Keith, Tom Seaver, and Mike Piazza. And Keith's probably number 2. We know who number 1 is, but he's probably number 2, Keith. So the Mets are separate from SNY now. SNY is owned by the Wilpon family. We know the Wilpon family is, don't we? Yes. They're the incompetents that used to run the Mets before they were forced to sell the team. Now, I would mention this. The Wilpons did not want to sell the Mets. Hello, D74. The Wilpons wanted to own the Mets forever. But what happened was, co-owner Saul Katz, who nobody talks about, he is the brother-in-law of Fred Wilpon. He's the brother-in-law of Fred Wilpon. And he's the uncle through marriage to Jeff Wilpon. Jeff's mother is the sister of Saul Katz. So through family, that's his uncle. And that's Fred's brother-in-law. Well, Saul's getting up there in age. He's like in his 80s. He's a big philanthropist out on Long Island. He helps a lot of a lot of hospitals out on Long Island with his name on it, his wife's name on it. So he's big out on Long Island. Well, he doesn't want to be involved. He can't be involved with the ball club anymore because he's getting up there in age, and he's the guy who's got really the real bankroll behind the team. Now, his kids Want nothing to do with Jeff. They wanted nothing to do with Jeff, and they didn't want to have to work with him. So that's why the Wilpons had to sell the team, because the Wilpons didn't have money to run the team. So what happened was, that's when they put the team up for sale. That's when they sold it to Cohen, and there was a lot of drama around Cohen and this thing with the Wilpons. Because the Wilpons, this is so stupid. This is typical nonsense with the Wilpons. Jeff wanted to run the team for 5 years after Cohen had bought the team. Just think about this right now. Would we have Max Scherzer on this team? No. Would we have Starlin Marte on this team? No. Would they have made the trade for Francisco Lindor? No. If Jeff was still running this team. Jeff wanted to run the team, even though he didn't own the team. He still wanted to run it, but Cohen was going to be the owner. And then in 5 years, Cohen was going to own the team completely. Does that make any sense to anybody? That's the kind of stupidity the Wilpons wanted to do. So at that point, the deal was off because Cohen didn't want that. He didn't want to do it. Cohen said, F this, I'm not doing that. That's why it took the Mets so long to sell the team. That's why there was so much drama in 2020 with the Mets and with Cohen, because Cohen was doing the right thing. He's like, I want to run this team. So this is the kind of mentality, the stupidity that we've had to deal with for 25, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it's been, with the Wilpons skulking around Shea Stadium and Citi Field. It's this stupidity that Citi Field is dedicated to the Brooklyn Dodgers to make Fred feel good about his life when he was a kid, dreaming of playing at Ebbets Field. This is the stupidity that we've had to watch. So Cohen buys the team. This is in November of 2020. Buys the team. And he says, within 3 to 5 years, we're going to win a World's Championship. The first year was not great. Mets had that collapse. They lost DeGrom for half the season. They lost Francisco Lindor for 6 weeks. They didn't hit. Essentially, it was the same kind of attitude in terms of players. We know the thing with the thumbs down. We know that was an issue. We also know that the situation with Luis Rojas was a disaster. He was a disaster as a manager. Okay. The Wilpons, if you think about it, since Bobby Valentine, this is a long time now, they've had such incompetent managers here. Art Howe. And guys that never had any managerial experience. Willie Randolph had no experience. Jerry Manuel was a disaster as a manager here. Terry Collins was a disaster up until they brought in the players. But they wanted to, I know Sandy wanted to fire him after 2013 because he was fed up with the way he managed the team. They had Terry here. Terry retired. He went on his merry little ways. The only manager never to be fired is manager, by the way. They hired Mickey Callaway. Meanwhile, he's playing them with the phone and texting women. Ding, 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 ding. Can't put a lineup together without screwing it up, which they did in Cincinnati. He was here for 2 years, threatening reporters, acting crazy, being distracted. That ended in a disaster. Then the Mets decide, all right, we got an idea. We got a great idea. Instead of hiring guys like Joe Girardi or Buck Showalter, the guys that have experience here, let's hire another guy with no experience. He calls Beltran. Okay. And there was no talk at the time that they were selling the team. So, all right. So they fired Mickey. They hired Carlos Beltran. Then the whole thing with the Astros started swirling with the scandal with the cheating. And Beltran lies to the Wilpon saying, I had nothing to do with it. I don't know what they're talking about. Then it comes out, well, he knew about it. Knew about it. He's the mastermind. So what do? They fire him 2 months into him being the manager. So at that point, I got a good idea. Let's hire another guy with no experience. And they hired Luis Rojas, who at least he had minor league managerial experience, but he had no experience either. So you have all these guys that are complete total disaster. I mean, Rojas was so ill-equipped to be manager here. It wasn't even funny. The guy had zero energy. The guy was, I don't know what the hell he was. I know the Met broadcasters complained about him a lot. All right. So Cohen realizes that this guy has to go. He fires him. Now we have the Wilpon still around. We know that Fred is still part owner. Jeff and Fred are still here. They're still part owners. Okay. But they can't affect the ball club. And we know how spiteful they are. All we've heard over the last 2 years is how much we love Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen is great. He's doing a great job. He's making light of this thing about Bobby Bonilla. Don't think that doesn't bother them. Okay, don't think that doesn't bother the Wilpons a lot. Now we have SNY. They own SNY, which is the Mets broadcast. Was not. They still own the broadcast on SNY. So some personalities that go on that network cannot say anything about Keith not having been signed. Keith, there should be no controversy about bringing Keith back. Now, Keith had his number retired last season, and a big ceremony here. This was huge. SNY made all these documentaries about Keith. They made so much money off of Keith's number being retired. They did a documentary on his life. They did a program on the day that he had the number retired. They did a lot for him, But this lowballing of him, just give him what he wants. I'm going to start doing videos because next week, on the 25th, these games are going to start up. Today's the 10th. Okay. The Wilpons have 2 weeks. Anybody knows me, and you know it's my buddy from the comic book side. Once I get started, once I get warmed up, start complaining about something, I don't let up. Okay? And I'm not dealing with the comic book people. I'm dealing with, comic book nerds and goofballs that they have these arguments with themselves. And then they act like you know what they're talking about. Okay? Believe me, the fans will rally to this because the fans 100% love Keith. Just aside from his broadcasting. Oh, really? Reports say that they better be close. Lendog 73. The Wilpons, I will bring the fire. You will not have seen this kind of fire since the comic book days. And I'll be on camera, and I'll tell them who I am. I don't care what people think who I am. I don't care. When it comes to my Mets team, that's all important to me. Comic books is one thing. This is a totally different situation. And I would not be surprised if Cohen is telling the Wilpons, look, get this settled. That's the one thing about Cohen. Everybody loves Cohen. All Cohen would have to do is get in Jeff's ear or Fred's ear. Look, get this done. Because if you don't get this done, I will embarrass you. I'll have Keith throw out the first pitch, opening day. When the Mets get to the World Series, I'll have Keith throw out the first pitch of the first World Series game here. I mean, I don't like to have to be like this again, but I will bring the fire upon the Wilpons that they've never seen from anybody, any of these broadcasters. Okay. Carton and Roberts, they do the WFAN show. They do a simulcast on SNY from 4 to 6 o'clock. Are they going to mention Keith? No, they won't because they're in partnership with the Wilpons. I've not heard anybody mention what's going on with Keith and SNY. Nothing. The only people that are talking about it are the newspaper guys. Mike Puma, I think Neil Best, I think probably John Heyman. Very few people that are on WFAN, because WFAN and CBS broadcast the Met games on the radio. So everybody's quiet. Nobody wants to say anything. The big tough guys at WFAN say nothing. This is an obvious win. This is the kind of thing you could talk about for days. There's no losers in this but the Wilpons, if you're going to talk about it. You know what I mean? So with the Mets, and the thing is, the Mets are caught in between. The Wilpons think that the Mets are going to get blamed. The Mets aren't going to get, going to take the heat on this. The Mets don't own SNY like they used to. Why would you alienate your fans and alienate your customers by not doing the right thing? They could be close all they want, but it has to get done. They got 2 weeks. SNY has 2 weeks to get this done with Keith. The worst thing that could happen is the Mets win the World Series and Keith has nothing to do with the games. He has invested all these years working for SNY and having to sit there during watching these bad Wilpon teams. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. The first half of that 2013 season was about as bad as it got. The only thing that was good about that first half was Matt Harvey, the way he pitched, the All-Star game, and we got to see Zach Wheeler for the first time. The second half wasn't bad. They actually played 500 baseball at the second half. But 2014 wasn't that great. They were below 500. Well, they missed Matt Harvey. That was a big deal. 2015 started off weird, and it looked like they were going to peter out. It was going to be like 2012 and 2011. 2017 was a disaster. 2018 was a disaster. 2019, they were spinning their wheels. 2020 was a disaster again. And 21, leave it on Cohen, but that was their first year. But they had so much fun last year. We all had fun last year. So you're not going to sign this guy? This guy that's been with this franchise for 40 years and loves it here and loves the fans. And why would you mess around with that? I've been chomping at the bit wanting to do a video on this for like the last 2 weeks. And I've been sort of discussing in these shorts. But again, anybody that knows, somebody knows Wilpon, you don't want to piss this guy. You don't want to piss me off because once I get started, I don't let up. Because I do this channel. I love doing the work. I love being here and doing this stuff and talking about the Mets. But I don't like having to deal with this kind of stuff. The only thing that ever pissed me off with the Mets was when they did the thing with the thumbs down with Javi Baez and Lindor 2 years ago. That really pissed me off. And that was probably my best live stream, by the way. Just like this is pretty good for myself right now. Me complaining about SNY. Because, that's the thing about the broadcasters. The broadcasters could talk. And watch. If SNY signs it, all these assholes like Boomer and Gio, Tierney and Tiki, and down the line. Oh, no, it's great news. The Mets signed, SNY signed Keith Hernandez to a 3-year deal. They after the fact. They'll say something after the fact. Okay? As far as I know, I'm the only Met YouTuber talking about it. I know I am. Because I always watch what everybody does. So I know who talks about things and doesn't talk about things. And I know how important this thing with us is, with Keith. You don't break that relationship. The SNY should not screw this up. The Wilpons can't screw this one up. Cohen has done a great job over the last 2 years connecting the old Mets to us. Okay, the Wilpons, all they cared about were the Dodgers. They didn't care about the '86 team. They didn't care about the '88 team. The team in '90. I haven't heard anything about '99 or 2000. Very little. Okay. They'll talk about 69 and 73 and everything else, but they never really cared too much about the '86 team. They didn't like the guys as a group. We know that. That's why they were so quick to break the team up. But they've done a horrible job of connecting us with the old Mets. And with the Old-Timers Day last year, with the numbers being retired the last few years, the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, which Hojo and Al Leiter are going in, with Howie Rose and Gary Cohen this year. I would think that's probably no numbers this year being retired. That's too bad. I would think that maybe next year we'll see another number retired. Hopefully Gary Carter's number gets retired next. That's another thing. That's another pet peeve of mine, the numbers. That's why I'm so into this thing with the how many days till spring training. I mean, the next number that needs to be retired is number 8. That should have been retired when Gary Carter made the Hall of Fame. Right, Willie Mays too. His number exactly. So they really retired 2 numbers this past year. I forgot about Willie Mays. But Aaron Gandhi, I'll put you on here. Let's see. Read the chat. D74. From what I've read, Will Ponzi's own SNY until 2030. Oh, Jesus. Steve Cohen would have gave Keith a blank check to stay in the booth until he doesn't want to do it anymore. That's how it is with Keith. Just give him whatever you want, Keith. That's it. You know? Roberto Dennis Jr. says, you're absolutely right about Keith and the Wilpons. Wilpons suck, and they had never cared about the Mets and their fan. No. And I would mention this. Dave Portnoy. He went after Steve Cohen, I guess, 2 years ago. Right after he bought the team. Something happened with the hedge fund. It doesn't matter. But he was complaining that he and Boomer too, Boomer Esiason too, wanted to know all the ins and outs of Steve Cohen's money. Get the hell out! You don't talk about your money with some fool on the radio. He said, "I'm never going to a game again." Blah 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 blah. Mention this about Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy, if he ever criticizes Steve Cohen, understand he wanted to buy the Mets with Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez. He was part of that ownership group. So any kind of criticism the Mets take from Barstool, understand where it's coming from. That's why they had that anti-Met Met fan, and they've been propping him up. They've been propping him up for a few years. As anti-Met Met fan, Frank Fleming, all these years. Sinking in my seat. Sitting on my couch right now. But, yeah, so Frank Fleming is one of these guys that is an anti-Met Met fan. That's propped up now by Dave Portnoy and Barstool. So, and he's constantly complaining about the Mets. What a great Met fan, by the way. What a great Met fan. He's up there with Joe Benigno as a real scumbag in terms of how he is about his team. And we're not about the pom-poms here. Believe me, far from it. We're not about the pom-poms here, but you can't be so negative that everything that the Mets do is a negative thing. And Barstool, keep an eye on them. If there's any kind of like attack on Steve Cohen by Barstool, from Portnoy in particular, it's because he's pissed off that he didn't get to own the team. And he's good friends with Jeff Wilpon, by the way. I saw a picture of 2 years ago of Jeff Wilpon and Portnoy, and Jeff looked happy. Never saw Jeff look happy. And any pictures when he's discussing the Mets. Let me see. I'm checking the thing out, Lindog. Let me check my Twitter feed. Just so I can confirm. Now, meanwhile, please like this video and subscribe. If you're coming through, please subscribe and leave comments in the comments section. The Cubs to sign Michael Fulmer. Interesting. I heard the Cubs were looking for another reliever. Let's see. All right, this is from yesterday. Let me see. This is from Mike Puma yesterday. This is from yesterday morning. This is from Mike Puma. Here and there has been progress in the contract talks between SNY and Keith Hernandez. The two sides are considering not far apart on a new multi-year agreement, but there's still work to be done before it can be completed. Oh, it better happen. It better happen. But if I have to go combo cut on them, that's not going to be pretty. I mean, if I have to come down there, down to complain at the manager's office, I'll do it. Social media is very powerful if you want to direct it towards something. Well, that's actually some good news, I guess. We'll see. Now, today is the 39th anniversary of the Mets signing Keith to a 5-year deal back in 1984. 5 years, $8.5 million extension. Get this. We all talk about Bobby Bonilla. The deal included $3.4 million and a deferred annually for the rest of his life. But meanwhile, we all talk about Bobby Bonilla. I hope that Cohen could get him to do it on July 1st. That would be funny. I would yuck it up and think that was hysterically great. Matt Harvey's going to play for the Italian team. I thought he was Greek, Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey's going to play for the team Italy. Crazy. All right, here's a list of the Mets that are going to participate in the World Baseball Classic. Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, the USA teams, Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz for Puerto Rico, for Venezuela, Eduardo Escobar, Omar Narvaez, Jose Quintana, Cam Opp. I don't know what team he's playing for. Claudio Scotti for Italy, Dominic Hamill for the for Puerto Rico, Eliza Hernandez for Dominican, and then a couple other guys, Jonathan Arias and Humberto Mejia. So we got a lot of guys here participating in the World Baseball Class. Too many. And former Met Ty Kelly. Is that guy a fucking jerk? A fucking weirdo. That guy's a weirdo. I'm sorry online. Okay, they all make a big deal out of him. He's a weird guy. Well, let me get into this a little bit before I end the live stream. I'm starting to post some football things on here. I hope that you can watch some of these football videos I'm doing. I did one this afternoon. Please watch it. I did some shorts the last few days. They've done pretty well, those shorts. In terms of the views, in terms of the subs. Here's the thing. That I've noticed that with the channels that started 2 years ago, that some of them have peaked. Quite a few of them have peaked. And part of it is that baseball is under the niche or the category of sports. And YouTube doesn't care. They feel that if you do one sport, you kind of like hold yourself back. In fact, YouTube encourages you to do 3 sports. I'm not going to do 3 sports. It's just too much work for me. One is enough. But I'm going to do some football on here. I tried to do football on the other channel, but that didn't quite work out the way I'd like it. That didn't work out well at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do some videos here. And it's going to take a little bit of while. It's going to take a while. Especially after the Super Bowl's over. It'll be interesting to see how it works here. Because I obviously have a built-in audience that I've had for 2 years. Now, there won't be any videos on Sunday. There won't be any full-length videos, like no live streams. No recorded videos on Sunday. You'll have some shorts on. It didn't sound right. Hopefully you'll get to check out my shorts. My shorts videos. Hope you'll get a chance to check that out. I have a lot of sort of ideas to do things. Like I said, I'm going to do these 9 o'clock videos that I've been posting just how many days until spring training, until pitchers and catchers, how many days till opening day. When we get to Wednesday, that's when the count will begin for opening day. So I'm trying to sort of be consistent with it. Bro says, I had watched the football videos you had been posted, so keep it up. And we'll see. We'll see how it does here. It's probably going to take me about 10 videos to see how things are here. But like I said, football and baseball soccer, hockey, basketball, they're all under the umbrella of sports, which is a niche, a category. So I'm not doing all those other ones. I'm just going to do the baseball and the football right now. Because the football I know a lot of, and obviously the baseball, I'm an expert on that. And I mean, if I were to do a third sport, it'd be hockey, but it's just too much work. It's just too much work. I understand the Rangers made a trade, but they don't get into that. I got to talk about a Rangers trade. Yeah, so I have a lot of plans for this channel. I tried to do it on the other channel, it just didn't work. For whatever, it just didn't work. And obviously I have HUD 316 is dead. The comic book HUD is gone. So most of the stuff is going to be on here. I'm going to continue to experiment on the baseball HUD 2 now. I need to make some physical changes to the branding on there, but that I have an idea for. Maybe do some trivia kind of things, some that I think you might like. But yeah, so for this channel, I'll do more football content. We'll see how that comes along. The views aren't great. The views weren't great on the video this afternoon, but the shorts were good. I got subs off of those 3 shorts that I did. Those shorts will go up at 7 o'clock in the morning right now. There won't be, like I said, there won't be any videos on Sunday other than the shorts. And then we'll really start hammering things out once Monday comes, and during the week we'll have a lot more football stuff. I have to figure out what the video will be for tomorrow for football, because I'm going to do a football video tomorrow. I don't know if it'll be about the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll do the Super Bowl. I could never get a handle on how to do the football. So I follow one channel. He's the big football channel. There's a football. It's a Giants fan. He does great, but I don't know how he does it. I've had a very difficult time trying to figure out how to work that side out. So we'll have a little fun here. So I want to thank you all for coming by. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. It's still the Baseball Hut. There'll be football on here. Mets is still the central part of the channel. And we'll have a lot of stuff on here. Some other sports. But I don't really care about... Does anybody care about LeBron James? F LeBron James. Him and his Chinese masters. That guy's they try to prop him up like he's Michael Jordan. He's not Michael Jordan. That's for damn sure. He's not even Bill Russell, for that matter. Keep hearing how he's the greatest of all time. He's not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was the greatest. Nobody's even close. He might not even be Kobe Bryant, for that matter. Or Shaq. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Leave comments if you're watching on replay. Thank you for coming around. And I'll see you later.